What are two ways to talk to your students about their academics? First, you want to ask open-ended and probing questions, and then you want to listen for their answers. And if they give you general answers, you want to ask them to follow up and be more specific with their responses to you. So for example, if you ask your student, how are you doing in your classes this semester? Typical answers from students are like, I'm doing okay, I'm doing fine, I'm doing good, or I don't know. So if a student says, I'm doing fine, you want to ask them to define fine. What does that mean to them? A way that they can figure out how they're doing is to really utilize the syllabus for each class. So on each syllabus for each class, the professor will have outlined all of the assessments that the student has to do over the course of the semester. So tests, quizzes, homework assignments, a participation grade perhaps, papers, labs, all different kinds of assessments on a syllabus depending on the content of the class. So you want to point the student to the amount each of those assessments are worth in the class, and maybe you can show them how to calculate their grades based on the assessments. So once they tune into those assessments, you can ask them, have you gotten any feedback on any of those assessments? And if so, how did you do? If they got a low grade on a homework assignment that's not worth very much, there's no need to be alarmed. But if they got a low grade on a test that's worth 40 or 50% of the class, you're going to need to talk to them about getting some support. So support would include going to their tutoring center or their academic support center or their learning center, maybe seeing a learning specialist, or they could, of course, a tried and true piece of advice is always to utilize their professor's office hours to get assistance. So you really want to make sure that the student tunes into their syllabus and the assessments on their syllabus. So if they respond to you and say they're doing good or fine, you really want to follow up and ask them what that means in the context of the syllabus and how they're being graded. So an open-ended question is, tell me about each of your classes and how you're doing this semester. And listen for the response, and if it's not specific, follow up and really have them dig down into their syllabus with you and talk about each of the assessments and how much they're worth.